Japan Station is made possible in part by Patreon support. If you would like to make sure that I can keep bringing you more content like this, then head on over to japankyo.com/Patreon and sign up for as little as $1 a month. Welcome to Japan Station. I'm your host, Tony Vega. If you're a longtime listener of the show, you may remember that I have experience studying abroad in Japan. And if you want to find out more about my experiences studying in Japan and learning Japanese as someone who is legally blind, you may want to check out episode 33 of Japan Station. I talk about all that stuff over there. But yeah, I was a foreign exchange student, I guess you would say, for a year in Osaka, Japan at a university called Kansai Gaidai, a.k.a. Kansai Gaikokugo Daigaku. But before I even stepped foot in Japan, I was already thinking about how the heck am I going to pay for this, right? Because, of course, even if I'm able to cover the tuition, I still have to cover dorms and food and travel expenses and all that kind of stuff. And thankfully, I was able to fund my studies over there, due in large part to scholarships. Scholarships are absolutely wonderful. And one of the scholarships that I was able to get was called the Bridging Scholarship. It's offered by the U.S.-Japan Bridging Foundation. If you are an undergrad looking to study abroad in Japan, I highly recommend you look them up. Again, Bridging Foundation. I believe it's bridgingfoundation.org. But anyway, because I was a recipient of the scholarship, I ended up on their email newsletter list, which of course means I get emails from them every once in a while. And a few weeks ago, or maybe about a month ago, I got an email announcing an upcoming workshop about manga. And so this caught my attention. I opened the email and I saw that there were a couple of interesting guests on the panel. And so I registered and I joined and I watched it and I loved it. I loved it. One of the panelists that they had on was this guy named Kofi Bazzell-Smith, and he is a manga creator and a boxer, like an actual serious boxer. He's going to be competing in a national tournament next month in December here in the US. He's from Illinois. And so anyway, I watched this online workshop and I loved his story. So it's all about just perseverance and hard work. And he draws manga. He actually draws manga in Japanese too. And he studied under some well-known, respected manga researchers and manga professors in Japan. He also managed to meet and attend a class by a professor at Kyoto Seika University, which is basically like the premier manga research university in Japan. They offer a graduate degree in manga research, which I think is the only place in Japan to do that. So he's had a lot of really, really interesting experiences in the manga world. But again, he's also a boxer and also a really nice, hardworking individual. And I loved talking to him. As soon as that workshop was over, I emailed him and I said, hey, you want to come on the show, Kofi? I would love to share your story with the listeners. And he said yes. And we ended up talking, well, for me, it was like 3 a.m. And because he's in Illinois, it was, I think, 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. for him. But I don't sound sleepy in this interview. Because, well, actually, I tend to go to sleep pretty late, around 2:30 or 3 a.m. usually. So this was not that late for me. But this is the latest interview that I've ever done. But anyway, I think it turned out great. You're going to get to learn his wonderful, inspirational kind of story. So let's get to it. Here is my conversation with Kofi Bazzell-Smith, a.k.a. Kofi Manga.
The next stop is Japan Station. The doors on the right side will open.
I know you've drawn manga about boxing, but have you watched stuff like Hajime no Ippo or Ashita no Joe?
A little bit. You know what? I feel really bad because I haven't read as much manga or watched enough anime as I probably should have to be a creator of it. So I've read, I actually have about almost 100 books of the first books from 1 to 100 of Hajime no Ippo, the original in Japanese that I got from a friend. They've just been sitting on my bookshelf because I haven't gotten to them. But I have
it's very good.
Hajime no Ippo. Yeah, I watched the first 20 minutes of the anime and it was good. And it was it was actually very accurate. It's very accurate.
In what sense?
And what they're doing when they train, like, it's very apparent that the creator of the show. So actually, when I was in Japan last time, so I was training at some boxing gyms, and one of the boxing coaches that I was training with told me that the guy who created Hajime no Ippo used to box. And like, I don't know if he actually competed, but he was at least in the boxing gym and training and sparring. Like, it feels like very natural when you're looking at all the stuff that's going on in the gym. Like, that's what we do.
Yeah.
It's not. It doesn't feel like made up or like he just went there to research for a little bit so he could create a comic.
Right. Well, he obviously loves it because that thing's been going on forever.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah. All right. So I do want to ask you more about that kind of stuff and,
Sure.
going to boxing gyms and going to Japan and all that. But first, so when did you start learning Japanese? Like, how did you get into that?
So actually, this was quite a long time ago. So when I first started learning Japanese was after I dropped out of college. I dropped out of the University of Illinois. And my parents was like, all right, my parents said basically, you gotta do something. So, so I had to enroll in community college the very next semester, which was the fall semester of 2009. Okay. And I couldn't figure out what I wanted to study. And just on a whim, just decided to take Japanese courses. So there's a 2-year program at my former community college. So that was from 2009 to 2011. And I took a long break, and then I started self-studying again in 2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but I guess you took a liking to it when you started?
Oh yeah, right away. Right away. It was I wasn't really it wasn't that I didn't do well in school. It was just really boring to me. But I did like my Spanish class in high school. So I think I just really liked language, and I finally, like, I would study on my own without anybody telling me to for the first time. It was really fun.
So did you have much like opportunity to practice, or was it really not until when you restarted in 2017?
At first I didn't, but so I got really lucky. So since I did really well in those first 2 years, my professor really took a liking to me. So after I finished the program, he would actually like drive to my apartment and pick me up and take me out to breakfast, and we would speak Japanese for an hour, and he would give me homework. Yeah. So I worked with him a lot. I still talk to him. He's retired now.
That's
really,
great.
really good teacher. And I would just meet, random Japanese people at the university. I volunteered to be a conversation partner for international students. So I stayed really close to the international community, even though I wasn't in school and I was boxing. So I had chances to speak it here and there and talking to people when I was helping them with their English. Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, we already mentioned it, but you did end up going to Japan and all that, but you also write manga in Japanese. So
that's correct.
That's why I wanted to kind of figure out, like, how early was it that you really started to use it? Because it's a long way from learning a little something in the textbook to actually being able to use it. And then to actually being able to write in the language. That's then another step.
Well, I would say pretty much from early on, I was trying my hardest. I was adding some Japanese to my illustrations, but of course it was mostly all wrong. But I just
but that's how you start. That's how you start. Yeah,
that's exactly how you start. So the way that I've been doing this for years now is I would put Japanese into my manga that was like quite beyond my level. So I would just painstakingly research how to write these things, and I would post it online, and people would correct it. And that's kind of how I learned a lot of my Japanese. That's how I did self-study, is by drawing manga and then having people correct it. And they'd be like, oh, maybe this sentence makes more sense, or, oh, you shouldn't say that. That's kind of how I learned Japanese, like by drawing manga,
Yeah. Like, I've used a website called Lang 8.
Me too. Okay.
Yeah, very useful. Yeah, whenever like I'm like, do you say it this way or this way? And then I would just write it out, and people would help, and then I'd pick like the one that I thought was best. So
exactly, yeah. And there's also Hello Talk, which is it's an app. I think it's just like Lang 8. It's the same premise, but things come down on your news feed like a social media app. But all the posts that come down on your news feed, it's not your friends. It's people who are studying your native language, and your posts come up on their wall.
Oh,
So
okay.
I still do it. I post my manga on there, or even
Yeah.
if I have to send an email to like a Japanese professor just to check to make sure it's correct.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
post all my stuff on there. That's how I get everything checked.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Yeah, because I mean, I think so many people are kind of afraid to be wrong, but if you never
Yeah,
put it
yeah,
out
yeah.
there, then you never know what you're doing wrong, and you can't fix it, right? So,
Exactly. You
yeah,
gotta be wrong, because like I mean, what's the you're gonna miss out on so many opportunities.
yeah,
And it's like if you're afraid to be wrong, then you're probably at the stage where regardless of what you do, you're gonna do something wrong. So you
yeah,
might as
yeah,
well do it anyway and just peel the band-aid off.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
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 So then, when was the first time you ended up going to Japan? How did that happen?
So that was in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So I was so like I said, I was a dropout. I was in and out of school.
Mm-hmm.
I finished the Japanese program, so there was nothing after that. So I got back to not liking school. I tried
Uh-huh.
to audit courses at the University of Illinois. I tried for years to take Japanese classes there, but they just wouldn't let me because I wasn't a student there anymore.
Uh-huh.
So I was working another dead end job. I was just
Mm-hmm.
working at a cafe.
Mm-hmm.
And in the building, in the same building, the people above us in the cafe was a video game studio.
Interesting. Huh.
Deep Silver Volition, the people who made Red Faction and
Oh.
Saints Row and stuff. Yeah, that's
Uh-huh.
in my hometown in Champaign,
Oh,
Illinois.
okay. Uh-huh.
So they would always come down and I'd make them coffee, and I made friends with some of the developers. And
Uh-huh.
I ended up getting a temp gig as a video game tester there.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was nice. This was like the first time in my life where I could set my own schedule. You come in
Yeah.
and leave when you want, and you tell them when you work. But we'd be working like 60, 70, sometimes even 80 hours a week.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So I didn't have time to spend any money. So I just started saving all this money out of nowhere. And I decided, I was like, okay, I want to do something with my life. I never saved any money before. I was just
Yeah.
making $10 an hour.
Sure.
But,
Yeah.
it was so freeing,
Mm-hmm.
having being comfortable at my job, being able to come in and leave when I want. They trusted you.
Yeah.
I was doing something I enjoyed. I was finally around some other nerds, people I could relate to.
Yeah.
So I was feeling myself. So I started reading some finance books, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and stuff like
Sure.
that. I opened my own bank account, and I actually got in touch with one of the bankers, and I said, "Hey, can you teach me how to save money?" And he started meeting with me regularly. He gave me books to read, taught me about credit, and I ended up saving up $5,000. And then I found a Japanese tutor in my hometown, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to start studying Japanese again. I'm feeling good. I'm going to do something with this manga, because I was in and out of drawing. I was
Okay.
never taking drawing seriously until I got that job. And, I kind of got a sense of freedom. I've worked at factories, I've worked at cafes, I've worked really, really terrible low-wage employment that doesn't really give you the opportunity to breathe and feel like you're free and feel like you can do something with your life. So once I had this, I still had a job, but I had freedom. So I was like, I'm gonna pursue art seriously. So I got my first art show. I started saving up money. I got myself a Japanese tutor, and this tutor was actually a teacher at a private language school in Fukuoka, Japan.
Interesting.
And so she told me the summer was coming up, and I'm been saving money. She said, we have a special program at our language school where there's a mangaka who comes to our school, and he teaches a month-long class.
Huh.
And she said, you should do that. You should come to Japan.
Wow.
So I paid for the class. I found myself a ticket. I figured out how to get myself a passport. Like I said, I was a conversation partner for many, many years. And my very first conversation partner was this Japanese guy named Ko. And he happened to live in Fukuoka. We kept in contact on Facebook.
Oh, wow.
So I arranged my flight. I paid for the school and everything. And I had a place to stay for an entire month. So I stayed with him. He at the time he was a researcher at Kyushu University, which is near the school I was going to. So
Yeah.
everything pretty much lined up. I found a round trip ticket for $860. It was not bad.
Huh.
Yeah. So I went out there. I never left the country before. I had a place to stay, and I took a course in Japanese, and I took a course in manga storytelling. And the interesting thing about this manga course is I'm the only student that signed up. just at that because he teaches it all the time, but just at the time that I went, from
Yeah.
August to September, like I was there for a month, there were no other students.
Uh-huh,
So I was getting these 4-hour manga lessons, and he doesn't speak English, so it's in Japanese. I was getting these 4-hour manga lessons, and it was just like one-on-one instruction.
Wow.
It was really amazing. So under him, it wasn't about I learned that manga wasn't about the drawing style, like the big heads, big eyes thing. You know, that's sort of a stylistic choice that's a stylistic direction that you can take with manga.
Sure. Yeah.
What I learned is manga is about Kisho Tenketsu, the 4-arc storytelling structure, and all of my homework was based on that structure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, I guess by that point, you had enough Japanese ability to not be totally lost. You can kind of take advantage of the situation, but you're still learning a lot on a daily basis.
Oh, man. That's like the fact. So that was like, that month was the equivalent of six months, maybe even up to a year of studying on my own, how I had been studying.
Yeah.
I improved so fast, it was insane. Because
Yeah.
So the interesting thing, the actual Japanese course that I took, that's where I learned the least. So while I was taking the manga course, you know, I kept the dictionary on my phone right next to me anytime there was a word. So I highly recommend, this is about taking that leap and just doing it and making the mistakes. You learn from being in conversation. Instead of saying, for example, like say you're speaking to somebody in that language and they also speak your language, don't break into your language and be like, hey, how do you say this? Say, how do you say in the language that you're learning? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to learn how to be able to communicate effectively, but simply. So being fluent isn't knowing all the words. Being fluent is being strategic and keeping the conversation at your level so you continue to speak in that language. Yeah. And I think that's where I was able to learn a lot because I never broke my Japanese, even though it wasn't a very high level. And on top of that, I was training at a boxing gym the entire time, and none of them spoke English either. So actually, I learned I learned most of my Japanese in boxing gyms.
Yeah, no, well that's like, so whether it was manga or boxing, like you were trying to accomplish something, and in order to accomplish something, you had to learn and speak the language. So that's yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is like the best way.
Absolutely. It was extremely beneficial. And it doesn't even take that long. It's just when you're surrounded by it and when you're really engaged in it, because you can go to Japan and not speak Japanese. It's safe enough and English friendly enough. And it's not about, I guess it's kind of like don't be afraid. But nobody's going to hurt you if you say something wrong.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Yeah,
it's fine. Make the mistake.
Exactly. So what was that in Fukuoka City? Or
yes.
Where? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was in Fukuoka City. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, just asking because I've been there several times, so that's why I was
really?
just curious.
Yeah, I love Fukuoka. Yeah, they got katame, the really hard ramen, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So you do the language course, you're doing manga, but you're also boxing.
Yes.
So that was it like 2 months? You said?
Oh no, I was only there for 1 month.
1 month. Okay.
Yeah, 1 month. It feels like it was a long time, but it was only 1 month.
So you go through that and then you go back to the US, but then I know you end up going back to Japan to go to the university that I also went to over there.
Oh, you went to Kansai Gaidai?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So,
nice.
I think, do you know I think he is retired from Enka singing now, but do you know Jero?
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. So he was a African American, but his grandmother was Japanese, and he became an enka singer in Japan.
Wow!
But then he retired like a year or two ago to pursue a tech, and he was at Kansai Gaidai the year before I was at Kansai Gaidai.
Wow!
So that's why I bring him up. But
that's so cool.
Yeah. So anyway, you go back to the U.S. and then somehow you end up deciding you want to go study over there, and you end up in Kansai Gaidai. What happens? How does that go?
So this is why. So as an American citizen, if you go to Japan, you have basically a tourist visa for 3 months, and once that expires, you have to go back to your country. So like I said, my friend that I was staying with was a researcher at Kyushu University. And he had a really famous professor named Chihaya Adachi. And he introduced me to his professor. They do some really cool stuff. It's with like LED lighting, like those lights. That's made out of powder.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So anyway, I met a bunch of these scientists, and I'm a community college dropout and a boxer, and I'm hanging out with all these Japanese scientists, and I'm just having this great, because I'm around them all the time. I'm on this campus. Kyushu University is like the #4 university in the entire nation, a really prestigious place. And his professor, Dr. Adachi, gives me a private tour of this facility called QLux, it's his state-of-the-art research center that he just had built. That was right down the street from the university. Man. Yeah. So I'm getting a tour in Japanese of this state-of-the-art scientific research facility. Yeah. And I got like a muscle shirt and tattoos on. And it's just a really odd image. So after we get that tour, he suggests that I stay in Japan and they put me through some language classes and give me a job as a translator. A translator for this state-of-the-art research facility at one of the top universities in the world, just because I'm friends with his student. Yeah. But here's the thing. I don't have a bachelor's degree, so I can't get a visa.
Right.
So I have to go back home and I have to turn down that amazing job.
Yeah.
So when I got back, first of all, I was motivated to go back to school because I'm like, wow, I'm hanging out, like, we're talking on the same level. I'm not stupid, Yeah. And second of all, I need to get this bachelor's degree and go back to Japan.
Yeah, exactly.
So I enrolled in classes in my community college while I was still there. Mm-hmm. So here's another thing. I still have my job at the video game studio.
Oh, okay.
So I was a temp. Yeah. And basically how the temp job works is if you do really well, they keep you on full time. There's too many people for them to keep. They can't keep everybody, right?
Yeah.
They keep about 15 people, and I think there were like 100 temps because we were in the middle of putting out a game. So by going to Japan for a month, they said, yeah, sure, you can follow your dreams, you can go. But I basically killed my chances of getting that full-time experience.
Right.
But the interesting thing, I'm kind of glad that I did that because while I was overseas, everybody got fired because the game tanked. So I was gonna lose my job anyway.
Yeah.
So I came back with no job. I was enrolled in community college, and luckily there's enough financial aid and grant money for me to be able to pay for community college.
Okay.
But I could not find a job. Mm-hmm. I was really struggling. I spent all of my money when I was in Japan. I had all that $5,000. I came back with nothing.
Yeah.
And I struggled really, really hard. So I'm taking these community college courses, not able to find work. And I started taking drawing commissions. I was just doing freelance illustration so I can improve in my drawing. I was drawing manga maybe 10, 12 hours a day.
Okay.
Yeah, like a lot. Just to try to get better. And I'm training people like outside in boxing, or sneaking into the community college basketball basketball gym at like 7 a.m. to train people, make like $10 or $15 here and there so I can make money. And I'm attending the Japanese conversation table at the University of Illinois because even if you're not a student, you can attend the conversation table. So I'm doing all that, and I'm finally getting A's in my class. I'm taking classes I really hate, but I just got Japan.
You just got to do it. You got to get it done.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
I finally had a motivation.
Yeah.
I joined the Japanese Culture Club in my community college. I became the president of that, and as president, so the reason why I think you should be president of a club, if there's any students listening, or you should at least join a club, is you have access to classrooms, and now you can create events. So that's when I created my first manga workshop, and like 10 people came, and it was just at the community college, and it didn't cost any money. But now that I'm the president of the Japanese Culture Club, I can set up hour-long workshops. So I started doing that as well. And just grinded it out for 3 semesters and graduated from community college. And then I transferred to my current university and continued on from there. Then I started the Japanese Culture Club at this university because there wasn't one. I was like, as soon as I go to this school, I'm going to join the Japanese Culture Club. I'm going to be president here too. Yeah. And I looked and I was like, oh, they don't have one. And all you got to do is get some signatures from some students. So, and it's a great resume builder to get you scholarships to go back to Japan,
Yeah.
Then I published my first kids book, and I started doing a bunch of engagement work with the international community. Sort of, some of it was resume builder stuff. A lot of it was just I just really like being around the international community. And I came to the school with the explicit intent. I said, next time I go to Japan, somebody else is paying for it because that hurt. Like, I'm not paying for it next time. And that's exactly what happened. I just grinded it out. In the following year, in 2019, I applied for like almost 40 scholarships and ended up getting enough money cumulatively to not have to pay for anything.
No, I think, I mean, we both got, I think, a couple of the same scholarships when we.
Oh, really?
I think there was one other one. I was looking in your email and
did you get the bridging scholarship?
Yeah, I got that one. And
the Freeman Asia?
Yeah, I believe I got that one. Yeah.
Yep. Same. Yeah.
Exactly. You just gotta try. Because whatever. Like,
exactly.
If you don't try, you get nothing. If you try, you might get something. So
exactly. And you know what? For anybody listening, so it sounds like I just went. A lot of the stuff that I tried, I did fail. Like for example, this place, Kyoto Sekai University, where I got to study under this mangaka. I've been contacting them for years, and they've been ignoring me. And I finally made it like through the back door when I finally came there in a roundabout sort of way. So you really can't give up. I've had Kyoto Sekai on my mind for going on 3 years now. Like, you have to stick to it, and like you're gonna fail at things, and things are gonna take time. You can't have it right away.
Exactly.
But you just have to maintain that clear focus. And I know, like, I don't believe in magic or anything like that, but I think one of the reasons that I was able to get back to Japan was I seriously had it on my mind all the time. I'm going back. Somebody else is paying for it. And I ended up sort of making that happen. But I think keeping that mindset is really important.
Well, in that mindset, you end up doing the things that you got to do to help make that happen, right? Exactly. So planning, I learned the importance of a plan, basically. Yes, exactly. Goals and trying to do the hard work that it takes to get to the big thing, right?
And if you break it down and kind of like treat it like a video game, it's like, okay. Exactly. Like if you ever played Zelda, you got to do all this ridiculous stuff just to get the Bigoron sword.
Exactly.
You know?
You need one weapon to get the other thing, then you get the boomerang, then you get the lantern, then you get the thing, and then blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. So if you work backwards, so the sort of mantra, I don't know if mantra is the right word, the kind of thing that I say in my head is I break down into these incremental steps. And each time I reach one of these steps, I'd say to myself, is this really going to be the step that stops me from getting that big goal? Is this one little thing really going to stop me? Because each one of the individual steps, none of them are hard. Collectively, it's hard, but you can't really say that one of these is going to stop you. So you can't be stopped. You can't be stopped.
Exactly. You know? I love that. Yes. All right, so you're able to get the scholarships, and then you go to Kansai Gaidai. For anybody that's unaware, that is in Hirakata City in Osaka. It's very they have a big study abroad program. So I think in one of the semesters that I was there were like over 400 international students.
Oh, we had over 500 when I went.
There you go. So every semester
there was a lot.
A lot
and
from
I think,
all over the world.
Yeah, but my semester, I think over 300 of us were American. It was like mostly
usually
American.
It is. Yeah, there's a lot of Americans. That is usually the biggest group. So, by the way, were you at one of the dorms, one of the seminar houses?
I stayed in Yui. That's a newer dorm. I don't know if it was
I didn't
there
know
when
about
you were
that.
there.
Oh,
it was like a brand new facility, I think, when we went there.
Oh, okay.
It was nice. It was on the Gotenyama campus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which is like, I think, 15, maybe 20-minute walk away from the other campus where most of the classes are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was in Seminar House 3, so that was...
Oh, okay. I remember reading about that.
Yeah, that was brand new when I went there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
what year did you go?
2007. I was there 2 semesters.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't think Yui was built yet. I think they just built it in maybe like 17 or 18. It was pretty... Because they kept talking about how new it was.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, but it's nice because basically it's half and half. So it's foreign students and Japanese
that's really
students.
Good. That is really good.
Yeah. So the point is, Yui is it's the character for Musubi, for connection.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a great idea. That is one of the problems with living in the seminar houses, or it used to be, right? Because you don't get as much interaction within the house,
I see.
right?
I see.
So it was either host family or dorm, and then in the dorms you would have like maybe just a small handful of Japanese students. But
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Yui, you see Japanese people all the. I don't know. The problem is though, maybe this isn't a problem. I think one of the requirements, so the Japanese students, they have to apply to live in Yui. And I think it waives their tuition or something. So they have a lot of responsibilities.
Oh, okay. So they're like an RA kind of.
RA.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of them. But they all have to be, and they all have to speak English. So one of the issues that I had on campus was there was way too much English.
Yeah.
But, that's not fair because there's people who take Japanese 1 also.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
So that's, that for them, that's perfect.
Yeah. Well, so I think for me, just like it probably was the case for you, you really have to try to find a way into the Japanese areas, so to speak, right? So
off campus.
Off campus. But I know you also, I think you were in the boxing club, right? I believe.
I was in the boxing club too. Yeah.
And then so you're involved with that, but you're also trying to get involved with the manga as well, like outside of campus?
So actually, one of my favorite things about Kansai Gaidai is there was she's a professor at Kyoto Seika now.
Yeah.
But so she got her PhD at Kyoto Seika. She teaches a manga production course. So I took a manga production course at Kansai Gaidai.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah.
Know about that,
And she's she really knows her stuff. She's a professor at the premier manga research facility in the whole world right now.
Yeah.
And so we got to say, so that was actually the only course that I took in English because, it's available for all the international students. But it's really in depth. And at the end of the semester, we actually produce a physical book that we sell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's like an anthology. So everybody makes a one-shot manga.
Oh, that's cool.
It's supposed to be between 2 to 8 pages. Mine was 30 because I'm an overachiever. It was you really get to see what it's like to create a manga, and where it conforms to actual industry standards. So all of these manga that we created, we're ready for magazine publishing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So was
really
that the boxing one that you did?
That was the boxing one I did. Yeah. So that was my final project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have that video on your YouTube channel where you read through it,
exactly.
Right?
That's what I made there. Yeah.
Huh. I remember in the Bridging Scholarship lecture thing, online thing, you mentioned a thing where you went to some sort of, what was it, I guess it was some sort of recruitment kind of thing, but they were secretly meeting in the basement or something like that. What? Could you explain what that was?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's Kyoto International Manga Museum is in Kyoto. So Kyoto is depending on where you go, it's a couple hours away from Hirakata, but you can just get there by train.
Yeah.
So I just had a couple of friends, a couple of the other international students. All 4 of us were American. They told me I saw about the event, but I was like, I'm not going to go to this otaku event. I was already feeling some type of way being in Japan and being into drawing manga, and I didn't want to be a stereotype.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, they invited me to this event, and it's an anime event, like a con.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll go. So we go, there's a bunch of Pokemon cards and, all the typical things at a con.
Yeah.
But I brought my art portfolio with me because I'm in Japan, man. I'm going to make something happen.
Yeah. Why not?
So I got all my stuff with me, and I'm seeing all these tables, from these different companies, and I'm talking to people, just practicing my Japanese as much as possible, showing my art. And I come across, I think it was one of the art schools in Kyoto. I don't remember which art school it was, but they were doing manga caricatures of people. You could pay 1,000 yen to get a caricature of yourself done in a sort of manga-esque style. And I came up to them and they were like, "You want a caricature?" I was like, "No, can I talk to one of your professors?" And I was like, "I got some drawings to show."
Yeah.
So they got their professor. And apparently he's related to manga in some regard because Kyoto Sek, it's not, there's several schools that have like manga departments. You mostly learn manga at a vocational school in Japan, but there's some universities that teach manga courses. It's still kind of a young academic discipline. So I showed him all my work. I came to Japan with a bunch of copies in Japanese of both of my books. So I was carrying all this stuff with me all the time. I was giving my book to people on the train. There's kids at the airport with them.
Really?
I was just giving them out for free. It's like a little 16-page booklet, like a little kid's book. Yeah. Anyway, he was like, "Oh, well, downstairs there's a really serious event going on." He's like, "I suggest you go." So so we're on the first floor. I didn't know there was a floor 0, So, and it's like a typical con. There's like music and stuff going on. Everybody's dressed in, there's cosplay and all this stuff. It's a typical con. I walk downstairs and it is stiff. It's quiet. It feels like a conference at a hotel. They're like people got coffee and people have like little numbers and name tags, and it's all these people. They're like dressed up really nice, and there are all these tables set up, and it's all of the Japanese manga publishers that you can think of. All the major ones, some smaller ones. It's like a really serious event, and it's basically a go annai event. So go annai is like guidance. So it's like a free guidance event where you have the chance to meet and sit down with publishers and have these one-on-one meetings, and they'll see if they want to take your work to serialize it, or they'll just give you advice. And by the way, I'm the only non-Japanese person down there, so people
that doesn't surprise me.
Oh my god, everybody's
looking
staring.
at you.
Yeah. I was getting so many, and the funny thing, so it's the summer, so I have like, I'm not a jock, but maybe sometimes I look like one. So I have an all black sleeveless hoodie on with black shorts, and I have tattoos that are showing with both of my arms, and tattoos are already taboo in Japan.
Exactly.
So here's this black dude with a crazy haircut and tattoos and no sleeves, and it's a bunch of Japanese people in like a really brightly lit, stiff room, and everybody's got suits on. Got this portfolio with me. So I stand in line, I sign up, and like even all the application is in Japanese. I gotta look up some little stuff on my phone to make sure, because I can't read the names of all the publishing companies. And I ended up getting these like basically 20 to 25 minute one-on-one conversations with Kodansha, with Shonen Jump, and with Young King Comics. And I showed them all my work, and some of my work was in English, so I had to explain to them what was happening in the story in Japanese. And I just keep my dictionary on my phone with me, and I got some really, really profound advice, especially from the guy from Kodansha, and he was the one who motivated me to draw a boxing comic. Actually, he said, because we talked about my story, and he looked at Azuki, which is my children's series, and he was like, okay, by looking at this, I can tell you just really like Dragon Ball. He was like, this looks a lot like Toriyama's style. Right. He's like, it's interesting, the concept is interesting, but the art style, you look like a fan. And then I had another one, which was like, it took place in the Heian era, and it was like this really sort of traditional Japanese setting. It was about Bushido, and like, it's called Sakura, so it was all about death and transience of life, and how you have to hold on to every moment. So there's all these Zen Buddhist concepts, and there's samurai, and he was like, Japanese people don't want to see another Japanese historical epic, from a non-Japanese person. He's like, why don't you draw something about yourself? Why don't you make a boxing manga? You said you box, right? Yeah. And that was I literally had never considered in all my years. I've been boxing for about 10 years by that time. I never thought to draw a boxing manga. Like, I have all these tools right in front of me, and it's something that I know so well. Yeah. And this is what he told me. He said, manga it gives you a chance to express yourself. Even all these fantastical stories, all these supernatural aspects, the creators putting something of themselves into the work. Yeah. And he said, you have such a unique perspective as an athlete. Why wouldn't you want to give that to people? So that's why I drew the boxing manga, because of my meeting with the guy in Kodansha. Yeah. So after that really pretty amazing experience, and it was really humbling, because I basically learned, like, all my work was trash.
Yeah.
But like in a good,
But that's you got to go through that. You got to go through that.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
I thought I was dope. It was not good. It's good to know that. It's very good to know that. It's good to know that early.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You don't want to find that out. 20 years from now, you go like, oh,
exactly. Yeah.
No, but that's awesome that you get to like have the pros because that's their job, right? These are editors probably, right?
It's an important. There are These were real editors.
Yeah.
And it's funny, the lady from Shonen Jump, I could tell our whole meeting, she did not want to talk to me. She was like, what is this trash? But that was an important, humbling experience. The guy from Kodansha was really, 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 really kind for the amount of time that he spent with me and very motivating. And he said, obviously, he saw something in me, not just in my drawing ability, because of course I have to, there's people who have already debuted as professional mangaka that they're meeting with. These are, people traveled from all over the country to come to Kyoto for this event because it's a very rare free event. It's annual. So it was a big deal. Anyway, while I was in line, I got to talking with one of the other mangaka who he's already published some stuff before. And I look at his work and I was like, oh, sugoi, like it's so amazing. And we're talking and he looks at my work and he's like, oh, that's pretty cool, blah, blah, blah. And he gives me his card. And on his card, it says Kyoto Seikai University. He recently graduated from there. And I'm like, wow, that's my dream school. I've been looking at that school since I first went to Japan because I started looking up manga stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow, there's a school where you can actually study manga in school. Like it's a major. They have a whole manga department, not just one major.
Right.
And I was like, wow, I've always wanted to go to that school. And he was like, oh, you want to meet my professor? I'm like, hell yeah. So he sets up a meeting. He takes my email and he emails me the next day. He emails me and his professor, who's Akira Saso, who I ended up studying under. So he set up a meeting, and then I end up taking the train about 2 hours to get to Kyoto Seikai University, my dream school. And I just start going every Monday to meet with Professor Saso. I audited his figure drawing course where there's like a live nude model every Monday. It's like a night course. And then after that, we would go into his office. He would look at my work and he would just give me like homework, manga homework. Yeah, just I was not good enough to enter Kyoto Seikai by any means. It's a really tough school to get into. But I made it through the back door. And I think that's why you got to talk to people. If I was worried about my language ability, I would have never talked to that student. I just walked up and talked to a random guy. That's how I got that. I just said, hey, can I see your work? That's all I did. You have to put yourself out there, especially with the language. To them, I probably sound like a weird foreigner to everybody.
Yeah, we all do sometimes.
But they can understand what I'm saying,
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like, by you doing that, it shows that you really are genuinely interested. And, we can sometimes take advantage of our foreignness in that sort of way, too. Like,
you know what? That's totally
right.
Fine. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. If I was a Japanese dude, they would have been like, no, you can't come to Kyoto Seikai.
We're all the same. What are you trying to do here?
Yeah, exactly. It's because, like, how many times they get to talk to a black guy who's speaking to them in Japanese, who's really interested in their culture. People appreciate it. I know, especially from Japan, they appreciate it when you make an effort to engage in their culture and engage in their language. And, that'll get you opportunities. Use your foreignness. Don't take advantage of people.
Exactly,
but use it to make a connection and see how you can help them.
I love that. All right, so you go to Gaidai, but then you end up going back to the U.S. and
unfortunately,
well, Gaidai ends. I know Gaidai was a wonderful time for me too.
That was
So I assume you're still drawing while you're also doing the boxing and finishing up school and doing everything.
Everything's online now. So I go back, and here's another thing that I learned. You can use school as a tool. School is not a place where you go and you have to get stuff put into your brain. School is an institution that you use to your advantage because it gives you money and it gives you pieces of paper that'll get you to the next step. Treat it like a video game. So I got this idea. So there are research scholarships, that schools grant, right? Like you can engage in research and you can get a grant. I applied for a manga research scholarship for $500. As soon as I got back, I applied for it while I was still in Japan, when I was on my way back from Kansai Gaidai. And so I won a $500 research award. Here's what my research was. I drew a one-shot manga.
Yeah.
Like, I was gonna do that anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So this is I'm in a lot of manga groups, like on Facebook, on social media and stuff, and I always suggest to people, like, you can go back to school and they'll pay you to draw manga, because we don't make money for this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't make money for all the drawings that I do. But if you frame it as research, and your school will appreciate it, because it's something foreign to them.
Yeah.
So I started taking advantage of that. Because I think it's good for the university as well. So I applied for this research scholarship. I did another one-shot boxing manga, just grinded it out in school. And I was like, okay, I really got to get back to Japan. So I emailed no less than 50 people. I found this database of emails for Japanese mangaka.
Interesting.
I was like somewhere deep in the Japanese web at some point. And I emailed so many people. Most people didn't respond. A lot of people said no. Some people, like this mangaka Sadayoshi Ishii, who's a pretty famous mangaka, he emailed me back, and he was like, yeah, you can come visit my studio. That's fine. And I somehow got in contact with this atelier. It's a manga artist share house called Tokiwa So.
Oh, yeah. Well, please explain. Yeah. I know what that is, but please explain. Very famous.
Yeah. So Tokiwa So this is... So Osamu Tezuka is the godfather of manga. He revolutionized modern manga in like the late 50s, early 60s, post-World War II Reconstruction. He's creator of Astro Boy, creator of Kimba the White Lion, which Disney stole and created Lion King.
Exactly.
So Osamu Tezuka, he's your favorite mangaka's favorite mangaka.
Yeah.
He's the one, extremely impressive, expansive collection of works, short stories, long stories, every genre you can think of. Tokyo So is his old apartment where as I understand it, he would house other mangaka and they would work together. So now Tokyo So Project is an atelier in Tokyo that it is the rebuilt, like refurbished apartment where Tezuka used to live, and now it's they're just cranking out professional mangaka. It's like a professional development area. So like you apply to live there, and they hook you up with a mentor who works in the industry. And it's nothing but artists, mostly mangaka, but other artists who are living, and you're actually working on a piece with the intent of turning professional. And they have like all these professional engagement events. They hook you up with meetings with publishers and editors. And they're just cranking out professional mangaka. It's pretty impressive if you look at their website. Yeah. They've made so many professionals. So they somehow there's an organization called Newvery, who I don't even know how I got their email. I was emailing so many people. I didn't even know who I was emailing at this point. I got a reply from Newvery, and I'm like, who is Newvery? I must have emailed them. Yeah. And they were like, why don't you apply for our share house, Tokyo? Yeah. So I looked it up, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I didn't know how big it was when I applied. Yeah. So I submitted my GU comic. GU means freedom, which was my boxing manga. And I got an interview. And I filled out the entire application to live there. I had an 80-minute interview in Japanese with these two women on staff there, and I passed the interview to move into Tokyo. I think that they said no other Americans have ever lived there before. Like,
I'd be surprised if there was.
Yeah. They said they had one foreigner once who was like from Spain or something like that. It was probably France, because I know manga is big in France. Yeah, they had one person from Europe, and that was it. And everybody else ever has been Japanese. So I got accepted there, and it's like no American has ever been there before. There's this crazy huge opportunity. I applied for a Gilman scholarship, which is another really prestigious national scholarship. Literally, so my school. So I wanted to study abroad in Japan, and my school doesn't have any relationships with any study abroads, basically, that are worth my time in the summer. I could go back to Kansai Gaidai, but the summer program in Kansai Gaidai is only beginning Japanese. Yeah. So, since I bother them so much in the study abroad office, they were basically like, you know what, you can just find somebody to work with, find somebody to study under or draw manga under, and we'll just call it a study abroad program. Like, find whatever you want in Japan on your own, and we'll put funding to it.
Hey, whatever works, man.
Yeah. So I got to design my own program, and I was just gonna live. I was gonna live at Tokyo Aso for the entire summer, for just this past summer. And I won a Gilman scholarship, and I won scholarships at my university. I think in total I got like over 10 grand in scholarship money for the summer program. And COVID hit, and everything got canceled.
Jeez, man.
Everything got postponed.
Right. Okay.
But if I want to go back to Tokyo, I told them I can't go, and they were like, okay, well, you'll just have to reapply if you want to come.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: if I was Japanese, I probably wouldn't have got in, because my work isn't.
Yeah.
It's not, I still got to improve.
Sure.
I think it's pretty good. I should give myself a little credit, but
But I mean, Japan is super competitive. I mean, it's a whole other level. Kind of thing. Yeah.
This is where manga comes from.
Yeah.
But I got in. They told me that. Here's the thing. They told me they were impressed by my drive and by my commitment to understanding Japanese culture and my commitment to understanding manga. So for those of you out there who are trying to engage with Japan or engage with the foreign culture, use your foreignness to your advantage and be honest and really be, really work, because it's not. We kind of have like a foreigner's pass, and I think there's still other areas to work hard, because you're speaking a whole entire other language also.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like what that kind of gives you is that moment for them to look at you, and then what in that moment that they're looking at you, that's when you show them like, this is something that I'm really serious about. Like,
and they're also, you know what? So here's one thing that I've learned. So Japan is considered this really, it is, I mean, not considered, it's a really homogenous place. A lot of people don't have contact with foreigners, but here's something really interesting. It's like you would expect them to be racist. One interesting thing that I found in my both times in Japan and all the Japanese people I talk to online all the time and my meeting with Tokyo, they really want to get to know me.
Yeah.
They really want to get to know foreigners, and they don't have the opportunity.
Yeah.
So we have opportunities to do things in Japan that a normal Japanese person probably couldn't do. Because if you learn some Japanese, they're going to want to engage with you.
Yeah.
That's how I got accepted to live in Tokyo. That's how I was able to study under literally an award-winning, he won a Tezuka Cultural Prize, Professor Sasso, at Kyoto Sek at the premier manga research institution. That's how I got offered a job as a translator at the state-of-the-art research facility with intermediate Japanese ability. Like, they were gonna just pay me they were just gonna give me language classes. It's because of drive, and it's because I want to learn the language, and it's because I'm a foreigner trying to engage with Japan, which is really what I'm trying to tell people. It's not because, I have this amazing Japanese ability and this amazing drawing ability. It's because it's what I'm saying is anybody can do it. It's because I really want to engage with people, and I'm open with people. And I go out and I talk to people. And I probably sound like this weird foreigner who says stuff kind of strange,
Yeah, but whatever.
I probably say stuff weird, but
it's okay, man, because you're like, I mean, even in a larger sense, like the reason why I approached you and I emailed you and I wanted to talk to you was, well, of course you have a really interesting story, but two, it's just so cool that like you've been able to do all this and kind of like push and be able to like open these doors and find these interesting little workarounds and get so many interesting things done that few other people would ever get to do. So
it's so liberating when you find out what you actually can do.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane, because I honestly don't think that my abilities are like particularly amazing. I was able to switch off that little fear of trying.
Right. Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And I just think, man, there's so many things that I've done that other people could do.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's really opened my mind to the possibility. Things are a lot. Yeah.
As long as
you'll have a lot
if
of
you're willing
failure,
to push and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, you know, you never know.
Just try it. Yeah, really, just try it and reach out to. It's about making connections with people, and you got to be friendly. You know?
Exactly.
You gotta be
yeah,
honest.
of course. Yeah, once you make the connection, you got to be a nice person.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what are you thinking then? What's moving forward? Are you thinking you'd like to go back to Japan?
Yeah.
Do you want to publish in
Absolutely.
English, publish in Japanese? What are you thinking?
So I'm still improving in my manga. I'm working on my next children's book now.
Is that
here's
Azuki or is
another
that a
way-
totally different thing?
It's not Azuki. So it's called Rabbit and Toad.
Okay.
It looks like, I don't know if you are familiar with Choju Jinbutsu Giga.
Oh yeah. That's
It's,
the old
yeah.
scrolls that they're these kind of
Yes.
like whimsical pictures of animals,
Yeah.
and they're like 1,000 years
Yeah.
old or something like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's from like the 12th century.
Yeah.
So the art style is kind of based off of that because it's historically it's considered to be the first manga because I guess even though there's no words, there's some narrative elements
Sequential
to it.
series of pictures, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. So I took that, sort of those anthropomorphic figures, the manga and the rabbit and the toad, and I decided to make sort of an epic story of two rivals.
Interesting.
So I'm making book one. It's like, it's there's nothing really special about it. It's going to be a kid's book, but it's my way to explore sort of Japanese folk tales and a little bit of history. So I'm working on that now. And like I say, here's another way to use school. So I'm taking this digital art course, and I emailed my professor and I said, hey, instead of doing our work, can I make this book? So this is my homework now.
Yeah, two birds, one stone, man. Yeah.
Exactly. So like if you have, and I know especially for artists, school isn't about getting their grade. You're figuring out your career.
Yeah.
So if you can make career moves in school, try to consolidate. Anyway, the big thing is I just applied a couple of weeks ago for a Fulbright, which that was a lot of work.
Yeah.
If you're applying for a Fulbright, prepare ahead of time.
Definitely,
That was a lot. That was a ton of work. I applied for a Fulbright, actually to study formally under Professor Sasou at Kyoto Seika.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I got him to write me a letter of affiliation. I got like all my recommendations. I had to put a portfolio together. I had to write a bunch of essays for like a research proposal, a personal statement, and stuff like that. So basically what my plan is to draw a series of short manga while I'm studying under Professor Sasou and Professor Ku, who I took her manga production class at Kansai Gaidai. Now she works at Kyoto Seika, so I would just be studying under them too. I already know them.
That's great.
So I sent them, I shot them an email and I said, hey, I'm applying to a Fulbright. Can I study under you guys? And they were like, yeah, sure. So they wrote me a letter of affiliation. It's got like the official seal. Like, here's the thing. In 2017, I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
I was really, really broke. And I was looking up Kyoto Seika University online. I had no money. I was trying to figure out what I could do. I had a 1.7 GPA. 3 years later, I have a letter of affiliation with the official seal of the school inviting me to do a year of research there.
Yeah, man.
So I didn't win the award yet. I'm going to find out in like January or February. But that's the big thing. So that if I get that will start in September. And I'll be there. And I'll be like interviewing. I'm going to try to find a bunch of professional mangaka and industry professionals and interview them and translate the interviews into English and post them on YouTube for everybody to see. So that's what I'm working towards. And if I don't get that, I'm applying to graduate schools now to keep learning art.
Yeah. Well, geez, yeah.
So that's what I'm doing now.
That's awesome. No, it's good. You got to have a few. What is it? What is those? Hot irons in the fire, right? Several.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work because I'm also getting ready for nationals right now.
Exactly.
But it's a lot of work, but it really helps if you can consolidate your career and school into one thing.
So then is the best place for people to follow what you're up to, both YouTube and Instagram? Is that like the two places to go to?
So I haven't updated my YouTube channel in a couple of months just because I just finished another manga that I submitted to the Tezuka competition, so I've been working on that. Instagram is best for the most recent updates, but I am going to continue to make videos on my YouTube channel where I teach free lessons on manga storytelling and production. I'm going to be getting to that very shortly. You can find me on Facebook also. Instagram is probably easier. I got another workshop coming up next month, which I'll be posting a link to. It's a workshop on the Kisho Tenketsu storytelling structure. It's going to be free, actually. So I'll be posting updates for workshops. I'm working on an online store. I'll be putting my books out, and there'll be a bunch of free videos on YouTube coming.
Well, Kofi, thank you so much. I love your story. I love hearing this kind of inspirational tale and getting into the world of manga, which can be very hard to kind of peek behind the scenes because it's such a aside from the language, it's also just, I don't know, like kind of sealed away in these kind of dark corners in these basements like the one that you went to.
Yeah, that's why one of the things why it's been so difficult to me, and I feel I've had a lot of really unique opportunities and I'm aware of sort of the privilege that I've had there. I want to sort of open it up to other internationals, non-Japanese people who are interested in manga, which is why I started the YouTube channel, which is why I want to do this research. So, we can look forward to that. My overall end game is to bring all these manga skills and teaching production like to the United States and open it up in English.
Oh, that's awesome. No, that's great. That's great.
That's what I endeavor to do. I got a lot more to learn first.
Sure. No, but it's good to have the goal and little by little, right? Little by little. All right. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tony.
Again, the links will be in the show notes for Kofi's YouTube channel. He has a bunch of videos on there that are all about producing manga, and also his Instagram. I am looking forward to what merch and books that he's going to be selling in the near future. Probably Instagram will be the best place to keep up to date with that if you're interested in supporting him. Again, Kofi Manga, links in the show notes at japanstationpodcast.com or your podcast app of choice. If you have any interesting Japan-related projects that you would like the world to find out about, send me an email to mail@japanstationpodcast.com. Remember to follow on Facebook and Twitter at JapanKyo News. Subscribe. That really helps the show keep on growing. Doesn't cost you anything extra. Rate, review, tell a friend. As always, thank you so much to Unomi for providing the opening song, Oedo Controller. More information in the show notes at japanstationpodcast.com. And that does it for this episode. The next episode will be out on December 1st, and that one is going to feature Emma Ryan Yamazaki. She is a documentary filmmaker who has worked on numerous Japan-related projects, including her latest one, which is called Koshien, Japan's Field of Dreams. It's a full-length documentary that aired on ESPN, I believe, but is also going to be airing online. They're going to be having a virtual cinema premiere on November 20th, 2020, so that's why I wanted to get the word out about that, so you can go check it out. More information in the show notes, japanstationpodcast.com. I'm going to throw in a link there, or your just show notes in your podcast app of choice. But anyway, in case you're not familiar with Koshien, it's this summer high school baseball tournament, and it's this huge deal. Every year, the media goes crazy and people in Japan go crazy to follow the story of these high school teams trying to, become the best high school team in Japan, and it's so just packed with emotion. It's like a sports manga with these kids just competing to become the best in Japan. So she did a full-length documentary on this topic, and I watched the trailer. It looks really interesting. I'm going to watch a screener of the film before I talk to her in the next few days. So I am looking forward to talking to Emma, and you should come back for that on December 1st. Again, the documentary is called Koshien, Japan's Field of Dreams. If you're listening to this shortly after the episode comes out, go check it out because it's going to be out on November 20th. I'm not sure until when, but if you can't watch it, you should. All right, Koshien, Japan's Field of Dreams. All right, so with that, we are out. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, go find your miniature pony.
Just do it!